to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Stanionis versus Giyasov is headed to purse bids. There will be a purse bid hearing on Friday, November 8th, for the WBA-ordered welterweight fight between the champion Stanionis and the mandatory challenger Giyasov, after no deal was reached. We know that Stanionis was one of 3 champions in the welterweight division that was contacted for a potential fight with Jaron Boots Ennis, and we know that Stanionis was not happy with the offer. If he wasn't happy for the offer with that fight, he ain't gonna be happy for the money with this one. This is an even smaller fight with a lesser-known guy, but he's your mandatory, and you've got to satisfy him. So when the order came down for this fight, I was a little bit surprised that the WBA, of all people, were putting a PBC fighter, a PBC, a premier boxing champion, on a spot like this. They've had a great working relationship in previous years. Call a spade a spade. The WBA have seemed partial to PBC and PBC fighters to the point to where you start to wonder if it's even ethical for a sanctioning body. You know, they manufactured a belt for Gervonta Davis. They cooked one up out of thin air. When he moved up to the lightweight division and fought a journeyman in Gamboa, they made up a belt for him. Vasyl Lomachenko was the full WBA champion at the time, and we all knew then Gervonta Davis wasn't trying to fight him, not years ago, so they made up a belt for Gervonta. Don't want to stray too far away from the point, just a brief history lesson. Several instances just like that one, where the WBA has exhibited partiality towards PBC and PBC fighters, whereas now they're putting one of their guys on the spot, and it's not good for them. Why? If they don't play ball and they don't do it in a timely fashion, their fighter is under threat of losing his belt, losing his champion status. It puts them on the spot. Should have fought Boots. Should have took the money you were offered to fight Boots, because it was likely more than what you stand to make fighting Giyasov, whether Matchroom wins a bid or PBC wins a bid. Should have fought Boots. No, I don't know that Matchroom is going to break the bank just to get the rights for this fight, because it's not a big fight. It's not the kind of fight you pay above market value for. It isn't. Stanionis ain't known in America, and neither is Giyasov. You don't break the bank for a fight like this. If Matchroom were to try to win the rights for this fight, and we'll see if they do, we'll see if they can, it would have to be in the interest of getting Giyasov every conceivable advantage to ensure he gets that belt to their side of things. He's a standout amateur, Giyasov, flies a bit low on the radar, but to a guy like Stanionis, he's a high-risk, low-reward guy, because he presents a risk for not a lot of money. And I don't know that Matchroom are going to put up a lot of money to ensure they get the rights for this fight. It's bad for Stanionis either way. Whether Matchroom wins a bid or the PBC wins a bid, it's bad for him either way, because now you're stuck fighting a guy you maybe didn't want to fight for not a lot of money. You rejected more money to fight Boots because you didn't like that money. Well, you're definitely not going to like this money. Lithuanian Caillou is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Caillou. Enough. There's a separate problem. You see, even if the PBC were to win the rights to the fight, which would be better for Stanionis than Matchroom winning the rights for the fight, even if they win the fight, that puts them under pressure to deliver that fight in a timely fashion. And the PBC, as we all know, they ain't got a lot of fight dates. This calendar year has all but come and gone, and all they did were about 5 shows. 2 Canelo fights, 2 Tim Tszyu fights, one they didn't even pay for, and a Davis fight. Gervonta Davis is intended to be one of their superstars, one of their all-stars, and they were only able to get him out once this entire calendar year. What does that tell you about the state of affairs at the PBC? That they ain't got a lot of money. But they're gonna have to spend some on November 8th when the purse bid rolls around. If they want their guy to keep his belt and they want to keep the rights to this fight, they're gonna have to spend some. What the hell was Stanionis thinking? I saw him on a Boxing Voice talking this and that about the kind of money that Eddie Hearn was offering up and what a fighter should be paid to fight Boots in Philly. It's not enough money. Not enough for who? Not enough for you that nobody knows? He's fight Boots in hometown fight. I can be celebrity in hometown fight, athlete in Lithuania. He said something to that effect. that Boots selling 14,000 tickets in Philly ain't no big deal because he could sell tickets like that in Lithuania where they know him. Except you don't fight in Lithuania. I don't think he sells 14,000 tickets in Lithuania because if he could, he would. He wouldn't be here fighting on undercards.
If he can sell that many tickets or more in Lithuania, then you're just stupid. Then you're just a moron. Then you should just fight over there.
But I don't think he does that kind of business over there. Because this is a guy who was reported to have moved back into his mother's house when he ran out of money. I mean, how are you running out of money if you can sell 14,000 tickets in Lithuania? Where you from?
Bullshit.
It's bullshit. You were just coming up with excuses to swerve a Ennis fight because you wanted more money, a lot more money, than you're entitled to. That's all that was. And now, you stand to make less.
So where are all the people that were taking shots at Ennis, saying this and that he needs to offer these fighters more? How's it working out for these fighters?
Is it working out for Stanionis? How's it working out for Brian Norman?
Not too good.
Mario Barrios, he made out all right. He's got a slot on the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson undercard. He got lucky.
Damn right he got lucky. He gets to see Elmira naked.
A separate matter, but there were a lot of people piping up.
Saying this and that about Ennis, saying this and that about Eddie Hearn. He's not committed to Boots. He's not trying hard enough. Give me a break.
You guys just rather sit around arguing online than get a unification match at welterweight. You guys rather bicker and argue than call a spade a spade. These guys are pricing themselves out, and you know it. Their own promoters don't pay them the way these guys are expecting Matchroom to pay them. And their own promoters ain't even making a play for any of these unification matches, any of these fights. The PBC didn't put up no money to put Mario Barrios in the ring with Stanionis. Instead, they let Barrios float away to Netflix.
Would have been an in-house fight.
They didn't try to make it. They're certainly not trying to make a fight between Stanionis and Boots. They didn't make no offer, put up no money for that. They're not trying to make a fight between Stanionis and Norman.
Brian Norman's people ain't putting up no money for nobody, but they're asking for a lot of money.
Dumbass shit.
Stupid.
They would rather no unification matches take place in the welterweight division than see Boots unified, because it's all about spiting Boots. It's all about spiting Ennis. These are the kind of boxing fans that we have in America.
It's more about spiting Ennis or spiting Eddie Hearn than it is about boxing, actual boxing. Because what do I tell you about these American boxing fans? They care more about everything else than the actual boxing.
Gotta tell you, it's not working out too good for Stanionis. He's gotta fight a standout amateur now for not a lot of money, and it might be on the Matchroom side or his own side. But either way, he might have his hands full, and he won't make a lot of money for it. Not looking good, my friends. You can be in denial all you want. It's not looking good. He didn't make the right decision. Elsewhere in the welterweight division, Mario Barrios versus Manny Pacquiao fight is on the rocks.
Oh no!
The potential fight between legendary Manny Pacquiao and Mario Barrios could be on the rocks, according to Barrios' trainer, Bob Santos. Barrios, 29, of San Antonio, Texas, has a date with Abel Ramos for the WBC Welterweight Championship on the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul undercard at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas on November 15th. As it stands, Santos thinks it's unclear whether or not the Barrios versus Pacquiao fight would happen due to the latter's political engagement in the Philippines' Senate.
Good. Boxing don't need no more gimmicky fights like this one.
Manny Pacquiao wanted to fight Barrios, and we wanted the fight, but the fight couldn't be made in time because he's going to be running for the Senate again. I think in January or February, Santos told Boxing Scene. So Pacquiao has to take care of that, and we have to take care of Abel Ramos, and then we'll see what the future holds after that. Barrios and 8-division champion Pacquiao were said to be negotiating a fight for some months back with the Filipino great, looking to come out of retirement at age 45. However, the negotiations failed to materialize and the fight fell through.
Don't think of Manny Pacquiao's comeback under these circumstances as being the same as, say, George Foreman's comeback years ago when he came back to win a heavyweight title from Michael Moorer. It's not like that because before George fought Michael Moorer, he had a bunch of other fights.
He fought a bunch of other guys before he made it to Michael Moorer and beat him for the title.
That's not what this is. Manny coming back for a one and done at age 45, so far removed from the sport.
Manny's looking for a world title of opportunity against the weakest link at 147, and the weakest link at 147 is looking for a low-risk, high-reward kind of guy. And a 45-year-old Manny Pacquiao.
Come on.
In Pacquiao's place, the 29-2 Barrios is expected to face the 33-year-old Ramos, who bears a record of 28-6-2 for the WBC title. Barrios has been out of the ring ever since earning a 12-round UD win over Fabian Maidana 5 months ago. The win over Maidana extended Barrios' winning streak to 3, securing him the WBC Interim Championship in the process. Prior to those wins, the San Antonio native had lost consecutively to Gervonta Davis and Keith Thurman.
Winning the interim title saw Mario get elevated to full WBC champion. That's what he is now.
I know Abel Ramos very well, and I watched him against Omar Juarez. I've also watched him against Ugas. We know him very well. I know his trainer, Jesus Ramos, very well. I've seen him in the gym. I've seen him train. I've watched many of his fights. It's going to be a tough fight. Obviously, we feel confident we're gonna be victorious. This fight against Barrios could be a tall order for Ramos, who is under pressure to revive his career after just 2 wins in his last 5 fights, following consecutive losses to Luke Santamaria and Cody Crowley.
Ramos returned to his winning ways against Juan Guzman with a 5th-round stoppage victory in April. Good for him.
When asked if Ramos possesses the ability to hurt Barrios, Santos said, like I said, anytime you go in against anybody, they've got 2 hands just like the other guy. So they've got a puncher's chance like anybody, right? So you have to know that going in. That's why when everybody's talking about Tim Tszyu, oh, it's this, it's that, hey, maybe it's just the case that you got caught with one punch you didn't see coming, and that's boxing. That's what makes boxing a great sport. Don't make a great night for your fighter if he loses his belt so soon after getting it.
I don't know that Mario Barrios was going to fight again this year, if not for this opportunity to box on the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson undercard. Remember, the PBC ain't paying for none of this. Netflix is putting up all the money for this show, and I don't know that Mario would have fought again if not for that.
Lucky him.
But as far as all of this Pacquiao crap, listen, Manny's a legend. Nothing but respect for the guy. But nobody wants to see a 45-year-old Manny Pacquiao fight. Not in a serious fight, especially not after how he looked in that exhibition in Japan. He looked every day, every week, and every month of 45 years old.
You're a champion. You're expected to pursue the other champions now, not quasi-retired senators that moonlight as boxers.
It's disgusting.
It's one thing for a social media influencer to share the ring with an aged boxer on the premise that they don't have that boxer's experience and muscle memory, so it's more or less even terrain. But it's quite another thing for a young champion in his prime years to target an over-the-hill Manny Pacquiao just because Manny wants to fight you?
Stop it.
Are you guys so out of touch that you don't realize the paying customers don't want to see a 45-year-old Manny Pacquiao? That fight ain't gonna generate but so much. What did the Ugas fight with Pacquiao generate?
Not a lot.
So how much are you expecting to generate with an even older Pacquiao than the one that he fought?
He's running for the Senate, for God's sake.
I didn't hear Bob mention unification matches with either a Stanionis, his PBC stablemate, or Jaron Ennis or Brian Norman. Didn't hear him mention that. Souleymane Sissoko of France, a standout amateur, flying a bit low on the radar, but he's good. Good physical dimensions for a welterweight. He's skilled, he's strong. He's about to fight Egidius Kavaliauskas. Whoever wins that fight, they become Mario Barrios' problem.
Whether Souleymane wins, a Mean Machine wins, they might beat Mario Barrios.
No room to be a cockeyed optimist in this business. Whoever wins that fight puts Mario Barrios' reign as a champion at risk. So before you take that challenge on, why not unify? Maybe you lose, but you'll probably make more money against the champion than you will against that mandatory.
And that's if Abel Ramos don't beat you. Keep your eyes on the ball, Johnny boy.
His name's Mario, but that's besides the point. You have to tread carefully now, because when you win a belt, achievement, good achievement that might be, that's a target on your back.
Just saying.
Finally, in men's super middleweight news, I'm sure most of you have heard by now that Canelo is not in talks to fight Chris Eubank Jr. and has no plans to face him.
Ben Shalom's credibility takes another hit.
Canelo is not negotiating a fight with Chris Eubank Jr. and has no interest in facing him, despite recent comments to the contrary from boxer promoter Ben Shalom, who represents Eubank. Eddie Reynoso, Alvarez's manager and trainer, and the man Alvarez has left the decision to, on who he fights throughout his career, told Fight Freaks Unite on Wednesday that there are no discussions about that fight, and there won't be. It's totally false, Reynoso said. Eubank had his chance to fight Canelo in September, and the only thing he did was complicate the negotiations. We will not touch base with him again for a future fight. Whatever I tell you is always true. I don't like making statements, but what I declare is true.
I believe him.
He's not being open-ended about this. They're not leaving it to the imagination. They're saying we are not going to fight this guy. And this ain't the first time that Ben was caught fibbing in recent memory. Remember, Frazier Clark gets knocked out. He says there's going to be an investigation into Fabio Wortley's gloves. Just for the BBBOC to say there is no investigation, the gloves were approved and no concerns were raised.
Just for one of Ben's fighters to use that same brand of gloves to fight O'Hara Davies.
The point I'm making is Ben Shalom was caught fibbing once before in recent memory. I guess he's been caught fibbing again. Now, why he would think he could be so willy-nilly with the name of Canelo Alvarez of all people?
Well, that's just stupid.
You think you're gonna make public statements using this guy's name and he's not gonna catch wind about it? What did you think was gonna happen?
Gotta admit that at first I thought they might be negotiating.
Because there was a previous set of talks between them, I figured maybe they've revisited those talks. Canelo did say he wants to fight in the UK one day. Just not against Chris, I guess. So what Ben might have been trying to do is get Chris Eubank Jr.'s career some traction by attaching him to a big fight.
He doesn't want to do that kind of Ben fight, I can tell. He doesn't want to have to work with Matchroom on that.
So I guess he manufactures a story where Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn is in preliminary talks, I guess.
He's in a bad way. His stable is. His star heavyweight Frazier Clark just got stopped in one round. Ben Whitaker quit. He quit in front of everybody in the Liam Cameron fight. He's on the run. He's gone silent.
He's got Adam Azim wrapped in a protective cocoon, protecting him from Dalton Smith. And I'd wager he wants to wrap Chris Eubank Jr. in a protective cocoon because he just doesn't have a lot going on.
He needs that guy. He knows he's good for some tickets. He knows he's good for some ratings. He's got name value. He needs him.
It's a damn stupid idea to go taking liberties with the name of Canelo Alvarez. You should have made up something else. But if Canelo isn't fighting Chris, who is Canelo fighting? I'm a little bit exhausted. I am a little bit fatigued, wondering about what Canelo Alvarez's next move is gonna be. I don't know who he's gonna fight next.
I'm tired of talking about it.
But the look of it is, Chris Eubank Jr. ain't fighting Canelo. He doesn't seem too keen on that Conor Benn fight either. I don't think Ben is either, Ben Shalom, because that would force him to work with Matchroom. He doesn't want to do that. So
it's what I thought. When Chris Eubank Jr. signed to Boxer, it was because he wanted to seek refuge from everybody else, everybody that's out there. Hamza Shiraz, Denzel Bentley, Conor Benn, to a lesser extent.
Because if fighting Conor Benn were a priority, you would have went with Eddie. You would have went with Matchroom. You went to Ben. You went to Boxer.
So you can lie about a Canelo fight.
Whatever, man. Whatever.